So it's been far too long. I'm really happy to be back. This is something that I've missed over the last couple months. Just been busy again. The sob story, I know you don't really care to hear it, but been busy with life, business, work, family, it's summer holidays, all that kind of stuff. And then on top of that, I don't know if I even told you about this, but I signed up for the near death. So the Great Canadian Death Race, the marathon version, I guess, where 42 kilometers, you take the 118 kilometer solo ultra marathon, and the marathon version is 42 kilometers. You do effectively leg 1 and 2, and you do that on your own. So I signed up for that. It was a life-changing thing, and just really want to share a little bit about it and break down exactly why I did that and what my logic was going into it. And I'm still riding that wave of emotion, that super high that a lot of people talk about when you kind of finish something like that. Now, for me, I go pretty low right after I do something cool, and I just there's a lot of negative self-talk, all that stuff that I've talked about before with you guys. I really didn't accomplish anything. There's these guys doing 118, and I barely did 42. All this kind of stuff, but realistically, now that it's all settled in and I've had a chance to kind of reflect and kind of just have some gratitude for, effectively being able to do it and having a mind and body that took me up that mountain and down the other side. I'm pretty darn proud of it. And since then I've been getting some questions about effectively why, what's the point? What the hell are you doing? Would you do it again? All that kind of stuff, the natural stuff that you guys are probably thinking. If you've seen some of my Instagram and stuff like that. Now, I guess we'll start right from the beginning. Why? Really to lay it out. Again, you've followed along with the running journey. I wasn't a runner. In my mind, that was something that always bugged me, and I really wanted to change, really wanted to just, I don't want to say fix, but really wanted to change that about myself, that I could run. It started off as a journey to do 5 kilometers, right? When I started running, I couldn't do more than 2 kilometers at a time. So then wanted to do 5K, kind of hit that 5K. And to push me to that 5 kilometers, I signed up for a run here in Grand Prairie area, I should say, or in Grand Prairie, called Meet in the Middle. It's a really cool, we did it as a team. There's an opportunity to do a 5 kilometer loop, and 5 kilometer loop that you get to do 10 times. So we did it as a group of 5 people. So effectively we each did the loop twice, which was really cool. Got to meet some new people and got to just kind of learn the ropes a little bit on trail running in a really small entrance. What I felt like was a really, really big deal at the time, was a really big commitment and a really big accomplishment to finish. Now looking back, it was kind of a stepping stone to what I really was or am and will continue to shoot for. So I did that, and I did 2 5 kilometer loops. I got lost. I think I told you guys about it. Got lost. Second loop was 7 kilometers. Almost botched it for the team because I almost didn't make it in on time. All sorts of stuff. But I left that run knowing that there was something there, something I wanted to explore, something that I wanted to kind of keep going with. That was also in preparation for the Swan City half marathon that I did last September, I think it was. So last summer I was training for the half marathon, which was really good. And I accomplished that half marathon. My goal of going into that half marathon was I didn't want to stop running. So I wanted to keep moving, wanted to keep running, didn't want to walk any of it. And I accomplished that, which for a guy that was never a runner, couldn't even run 2 kilometers at the beginning of spring. And then by September, I did the half marathon continuously. I don't even remember the time. It doesn't matter to me, which we'll get to. But to be able to do that continuously was really, really cool for me and a big accomplishment. Now, you always get, when you do something like that, or whenever I do something, it seems like I get the what's next, right? It's kind of like when you're having kids. It's like you barely even have your first kid and you're like, how many kids you having? Right? Stuff like that. So I started getting the what's next right away. And the way I am in my mind, that was something that I was exploring as well. What's next? I better check my time. Oh, I'm a runner. I got a Garmin now. I'm a runner, so I got a Garmin. It's 8:34 p.m. Okay, well, my steps are low. We won't talk about that. So anyways, going what's next. And for me, the natural progression, I like to amp it up, and I like to really, I don't know, shoot high, aim for the stars, that whole thing. So I went 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers, not continuous, and then I 21 kilometers, so doubled that. And my next goal was going to be a full marathon. Didn't really tell anybody about it. Didn't really commit to myself or anything like that, but I knew through the fall that that was going to be the next thing I wanted to accomplish. Now, I really dislike running, and I really dislike road running especially. I find it's pretty boring. It hurts my knees, hurts my feet. Just everything about it just doesn't really do it for me. So on one hand, as a bit of a cop-out or a bit of a make it easier on myself to train for, a little more enjoyable, I started exploring what that would look like to do a trail run. Now, something like the Canadian Death Race has always stood out to me. It's always been something that, being in the area of Grand Prairie, you're close to Grand Cache, you see the transition stations when you drive to Grand Cache, you hear about it all the time, and it's like this massive accomplishment. And it's always been something that I've had in my mind that's like, that's really cool for them. Hoorah. Like, hell yeah, good for you. And I've never really thought that it would be something that I would explore. But as I started thinking about it, that turned into a very real thing for me that I wanted to try and dip my toes into that world, because it's a totally different world. So I wanted to dip my toes into that. Leaning on a couple good friends of mine, they recommended leg 2 if I wanted to really push myself. Leg 2 is a really tough leg. But I think it's 29 kilometers, and it's very, very difficult. And I didn't really know how difficult this stuff is until I went out and did it. People say, yeah, it's tough. But in my mind, I'm like, I just did 21 kilometers. It'd be stupid of me to think that I'm going to feel like I accomplished anything if I sign up for a 29 kilometer run. So little did I know, you can't even run the frickin' thing because it's so steep up and down. There's so much elevation change. You run a bit and it's a drastic hike is really what it is. And then you run down if you're not too scared to end up falling on these jagged rocks and stuff. So I just couldn't, in my mind, I was going to be selling myself short if I had to sign up for a single leg, which even saying it now, that's totally ridiculous coming from a person that ran 1 half marathon. But I wanted to do a marathon, and I thought to myself, well, what better way to push myself than to do a full marathon, but do a mountain marathon? Like, let's do it up. So I signed up for the near death. So I signed up for the Canadian Death Race Marathon. So 42 kilometers in the mountains. It's leg 1 and 2, pretty much leg 1 and 2. And they give you 9.5 hours to complete it. So I started my training just on my own, started looking, obviously Google research, Gemini, ChatGPT, all that kind of stuff, and came up with a perfect goal. I was going to do it in 6.5 hours. Now, once I started actually training and actually talking to real humans, I learned that I was in for a very rude awakening at 6.5 hours. And pretty quickly, my goal turned into, they give you 9.5 hours to do it. I just want to finish. Just want to finish. I just don't want to time out, and I don't want to DNF or whatever you call it. Yeah. And so I started training for that, and I had a really good spring of training into the summer. Going into it, I was actually super, super confident. And then a couple weeks before the run, I'm like, okay, I'm really confident in this. I actually went out and did practice hike on leg 2 just to see what it was. I was probably too confident. I was definitely too confident going into it. So I set myself a goal of 8 hours and didn't know what that looked like, but I'm just like, the arbitrary number, 8 hours sounds good. I want to do it under 8 hours. If I can do 8 hours, I'll be super happy. Now, I remember very clearly the morning or the night before, I think it was Cadence said like, what would you do if you won? And I'm like, yeah, that would be cool, but let's slow the roll here a little bit. And I explained that there's people out there that they're just like, super gifted. It sounds like I'm doing negative self-talk right now, but I promise I'm not. I'm being realistic. There's people out there super gifted. I've never done anything like this. My first time doing the death race. Some people do it year over year over year to try and improve their time. Didn't know really what I was up against. The weather, I hadn't done that was my first real world situation of nutrition for that long. All these things combined, I just really, like that. I was not going to let Cadence get in her mind that there's a chance that I'm winning the marathon, right? I don't even recall. I think the time was like I don't know. The guy did it. He broke a record. Huge props to that guy. I forget his name, but he broke the record, which is really cool because it was the very last time the death race is doing that marathon version. It's now moving to an ultra. Whole nother story. We'll get to that, I'm sure. But yeah, I kind of just said, look, honey, like if dad does around 8 hours, if I could break 8 hours, I'm going to be a very happy man. I've worked hard for this. I want to finish it. And because I'm feeling confident, I want to finish it within 8 hours. Why I tell you that part is because if you've probably seen on social media or whatever, I did finish it within 8 hours, but I finished in, I don't know the seconds off the top of my head, but I finished in 7 hours and 58 minutes and it was like 23 seconds or something. So I did not have extra time. And up until I got to, so what happened is I did leg one. I did leg one in about 1 hour and 45 minutes, which was, I was aiming for about 2 hours. So I did leg one very quick for me. Definitely a huge mistake because by the time I got to leg two and the hard stuff in leg two, I was cooked. As the kids say, I was done. I was tired and it was going to be a grind. By the time I finally got up to the first high peak, we'll say, I was shot. My legs were done. I was nauseous. I was lightheaded. It was a lot hotter than we expected. Just getting my nutrition in. I didn't eat enough. I packed enough food, but I didn't eat enough for breakfast. And then once I was moving, I didn't eat enough in that first leg. So it was rough. I was the guy that like every kilometer I was like sitting down in the bush on the side of this muddy ass trail, just wondering what I did. And it was tough. I don't know what the definition or what the pain cave actually is, but I feel like in a sense, when I hear about these ultra runners talk about the pain cave, I kind of feel like that's what it was. Every step just felt terribly painful. I regretted every life decision at that point. Uphill, downhill, trudging through the mud and the slop and the slime and everything because it was wet out there. Just everything. I was sitting down in these bushes and I end up, my one leg is just covered in these nasty bug bites because I was sitting in these muddy bushes for a while. And it just sucked. And so I have to imagine that's was my version of the pain cave. I'm sure it's a lot worse than that, but it did not feel great. A lot of pain, kind of rolled an ankle early, which was stupid. But I took some Advil, took some Tylenol. My buddy handed me some red pill. I think it was Robaxacet or something like that. So I took that, had a lot of mango pieces, which were very helpful. Those Costco dried mangoes, which were very helpful. And so long story short, I got to about kilometer 20 and I was like, I'm never going to finish. By about kilometer 30, when I got to about the second high peak or almost the second high peak, it was a transition or an aid station before the second high peak. I changed my socks, I grabbed some food, I filled up with water, and I felt pretty good. And I just put my head down and just like one foot in front of the other. And I remember I did this portion of the hike previously and it sucked. I hated it. It was like a solid rock road and it was just like felt never ending. It was just out in the middle of the sun and it was brutal. It was really brutal. And you go around the corner, you go around this curve and you think you're done and you're not. And then you go on the next and you think you're done and you're not. And you just wind up the side of this mountain and it sucks. And for whatever reason, when I was at the death race, I just one foot in front of the other and I like blacked out, like not blacked out, passed out, but I don't know where I was, but all of a sudden it felt like 5 minutes. And in reality, it was probably like an hour, if not more. It felt like 5 minutes. And I was up at the top. And I was like, what the hell just happened? Like I felt like I probably took a shortcut. I definitely didn't, but it was just like it moved so quick and everything felt so good. And then I looked at my phone because I didn't have a fancy Garmin. I'm not sponsored by Garmin, by the way, I wish. But looked at my phone and I had like an hour and a half or an hour left to, no, it was an hour and a half left to get to the bottom and hit that 8 hour range. And I was like, holy shit, like there's a chance here. I blew up on the first leg. I was dog tired on the second leg and there's still a chance I could hit my goal. And I'm better at downhill. I kind of have the body structure for downhill running apparently. And I just kind of let my body mass lead the way. So I start huffing her down this hill and sure enough, get to through, it was more than an hour and a half. Anyways, get to like the bottom area where you cut off back into a single track, just like dirt trail. And I checked, and I had 45 minutes. And at that point in time, I think I had about 5 kilometers left. And some of it was through town. So I made a decision at that point. I was like, I'm going to do everything in my power and leave it all on the line and try and get that 8 hours. And sure enough, by the end of it, I could not run more than, I'd say 100 yards at a time, except for, the last 300 yards before, or 400 yards before the finish line. I seemed to find some gas in the tank for that. So, and it was really, really cool to finish that run and come through the finish line. My wife and kids were there. My friends were there. Some of my friends were there. And it was just a really, really cool experience. And to be able to come through and do it within my time and stuff was just like, it was awesome. Now, the last 2.5 hours in my mind, I'm singing this Nickelback song because I didn't wear headphones. I'm singing Nickelback, and I don't know what the song's called, but Never Again, and not like this. And it's just like that line went over and over in my head because I'm like, this is so freaking stupid. I'm never doing anything like this again in my life. Like, I'm a one and done. I'm selling my shoes, selling my gear. And then I get to the bottom and a friend that was helping me in the pits, I guess you call him, Carrie. And she's like, so what do you think? Are you doing it next year? And I told her the story. I said, nah, like I was in my mind, I was singing Nickelback, Never Again. Like this was a cool experience. This was a really cool thing. But I knew as I was saying those words, because I had rehearsed this little speech in my head for the last 2 hours, like people are going to ask me and I'm done and I'm okay with that. And as I was saying it out loud for the first time to another living human, I knew I was lying to myself. Like, I think it's just, I knew at that point in time, like I left everything out there. I had no gas in the tank, but in my mind with some preparation, I have more to give. And I made it. And I'm kind of on this journey to see what that actually looks like. So, I mean, realistically, what does that mean? What's next for me? I kind of know. It's too early for me to say. I think I really want to test my limits. We'll say that. I'm very interested in trail running now. It's really, really fun, whether I do another race or whether I just train and enjoy like hiking and trail running. I think that's something that my family and I are going to really enjoy in the future. So we'll see what happens, but I think I really want to push my limits and really want to test to see how far my mind and body can go. Now, my mind and body might only go as far as training. And we'll just have to see what happens. But realistically, I did sign up for a little something in the future just to see, and I'll get myself ready, and hopefully I can get myself in a position where I can achieve that. And if my body and my mind says no, if it's not something that is for me in the end, then I won't achieve that. And then I'll know that I just want to know that I gave it my all. I just want to know that in this little life, in this little portion of my life, in these physical challenges, I just want to give my all and see where I cap out. I want to see where I can't do anymore. And maybe that is a DNF, maybe that is a timing out, maybe it is, like I say, training and push myself, and then just like, I don't know, getting hurt during training, or just deciding in training that it's too hard or time or whatever. I just want to really give it a crack and see how far I can push my limits. And I'm sure with any good fortune and with some good training and just some consistency, I'll be able to share some more of this story down the road. But in the meantime, like I say, I think for anybody looking to set goals, I wanted to share this because I think the big thing for me is like, realistically, I started with 5 kilometers because I wanted to be a runner. And then I did 10 kilometers. So I doubled it. And then I did 21. So I doubled it again. And then I did 42. So I doubled it again. Well, there might be some hints coming, but I just want to see how far I can go. And I think for anybody, the story for me that I really want to share is like, I bet on myself. I had people that were smarter than me, in better shape than me, had more experience than me, tell me not to do this. I didn't say not to do it. They said, hey, there's nothing wrong with checking it out first. Dip your toes kind of thing. And like I've said before on this little thing that we do here, I'm definitely eyes closed, head first in a lot of ways. I'm an overthinker to the point where if I hesitate too much, it's just not happening. So I think for me, like the ability to just commit, and I'm finally in a spot like, look, I'm 38 years old. When I started this whole thing, I was 37, and I'm just now in a spot where I'm truly betting on myself. And I'm finally in a spot where I'm confident enough in myself to put the work in, see what happens, and I'll be able to sleep at night if I succeed, and I'll be able to sleep at night if I fail. We'll say it, if I fail, because to me, failing in these situations, I'm still putting myself out there, which is a huge success. If I set a goal and fail on that goal, I'm still exponentially further ahead than I would have been if I stayed on the couch, if I just bought the new video game or whatever other hobbies I would fall into. But I just think, like, truly for me, having people ask what the hell I'm doing, or why I would do it, or if it's worth it or anything like that, there's massive sacrifices. But I think the feeling you get when you truly bet on yourself with whatever that is just like a very empowering feeling. And I'm thinking, like, I bet on myself to do that marathon in the mountains, and up on the top of the mountain, before I realized that I could hit my goal of 8 hours, I knew I was finishing, right? I could have been 9 hours and 29 minutes, and I knew I was finishing that race. I could have been 10 hours, but I'm still getting across that finish line, right? And I think that's super empowering to know that, like, I had no business being there. I didn't train enough, probably. I'm not the right build. I'm not very tall. I didn't know my nutrition. All this other crap. But it's like, just to bet on myself and actually get that far was an amazing feeling for me. And I just hope for everybody out there that's listening, that's taking the time to join in on this, I hope you get that feeling, and I hope you experience that regularly, because that's just unbelievable. It's gnarly, as the runners would say. It's a gnarly thing to experience. So I hope you can.